Hello, EKN Nation. It is time for a big EKN debrief coming off what was the biggest Briggs & Stratton 206 event this country has ever seen. Cup Karts North America Grand National 7 going to the books last weekend at Newcastle Motorsports Park in Newcastle, Indiana. My name's Rob Haddon. David Cole, of course, will join me here as he did on the racetrack at Newcastle for episode 119 of the EKN debrief. It is Wednesday, October the 4th. Let's get things underway by presenting this weekend's show sponsor, Acceleration Kart Racing. Acceleration Kart Racing has everything you need to go racing, from tires to helmets. They have a great website for you to order from, and kart racers ready to pick up the phone and answer your questions 6 days a week. With over 20 years of kart racing under their belt, Acceleration Kart Racing has the experience to help you succeed on the track. You can rely on them to get the parts you need when you need them. Make Acceleration Kart Racing your go-to source for everything karting. Head to www.shopakr.com. All right, David Cole, let's bring you in, man. You guys drove home on Monday. It was a heck of a weekend. You and I both had overall, I think, good weekends on track behind the wheel. You came up just short from what you were trying to do, but the bottom line is, overall, Cup Karts North America knocked this one out of the park.
Yeah, knocked it out of the park, as did all the people in attendance, all the competitors, their families, everybody. I mean, just to be part of something this massive and this huge was breathtaking. I mean, to go over 100 entries more than what they had last year, and over 400 drivers racing on the racetrack, 9 different categories. I mean, to think where it was in 2019 when we first went there for the third edition of the event to where it is now, it's phenomenal.
Yeah, the race taking place September the 28th to October 1st. As I said, Newcastle Motorsports Park. As I also said from the very beginning, the largest Briggs & Stratton only event in North America and around the world. An absolutely stunning number that will very likely grow next year. That was kind of the talk of, hey, how big can this thing actually get? We'll go to by the numbers in a couple of seconds. We'll kind of press the reset button there. But David, to cap things off, is to kind of overview the past weekend, which was fantastic. Hey, one of the big parts of it was because in years past there's been rain. There was a couple little foggy mornings where we had maybe a little bit of some sprinkle. You and I checked in our rain tires just in case. But the bottom line was for a late September, early October weekend, it was ideal.
It was, well, not really. It was almost surreal that it really felt like it was June weather in what was on Sunday, October. It was shorts weather all weekend long. Nobody's wearing pants unless you were, the true 4-cycle racer with jeans and a jacket when you're going on racetrack. But it was unseasonable weather. Just how warm it was, the foggy mornings. Now that threw everybody for a loop. I mean,
that session was wild, wasn't it?
I'm telling you what, I almost though preferred the foggy morning than I did the sun beating through my visor, because October, end of September, October, the sun's really low, and we're going out on racetrack at 8 a.m, and it's really low. And so you're hitting it at certain points, and it's almost blinding how bright it can be. But even at night too, when you're getting towards the end of the night and the sun is setting, it's even low then too. So unique circumstances, because again, of the time of the season that we're racing, but just unreal to have the weather that we did have. And it was perfect backdrop for what was a record-setting weekend.
Yeah, I can't say that I wouldn't have minded it being in the low 70s either, because it would have been a little easier. It did get super hot, as we know, low 80s. We mentioned the foggy mornings. We had a couple of pretty slick sessions one morning. But otherwise, overall, it was just absolutely perfect. Sunday was fantastic. Everybody enjoyed themselves. A lot of great stuff happened throughout the weekend that we'll get to. But as we do it with our debrief podcast here, let's look at by the numbers. David mentioned, the third edition back in 2019 at 281, went to 296 during the COVID season, 375, a big jump up there, 385, a little jump for 2022. But David, also, and I know that they had, I think, 513 entries that were logged. How many drivers did we actually get to take qualifying times this year?
Well, entries, that took qualifying lap was 485. I don't have the driver breakdown. I think what would we come up with 420 some drivers. I think when I did the preview, I'll look at that in a second here. So yeah, those are the 485 are entries who actually recorded on track session, because again, they had entries who, you look at the Bolton family, I think they had probably like 5 entries that were in but didn't compete because of certain situations. Others, there was a couple others as well too. Todd Jers, he was another one that was entered, but injury kept him off the racetrack. So yeah, our number 485, because that's what we do with all our events that we talk about, is the actual karts or entries on the racetrack.
Yeah, so Kid Kart had a good little group of 12 drivers, all essentially new. The big thing, Dave, was the split between the sportsman and cadet category, kind of breaking that up with the kind of age delineation there. 34 in sportsman, 28 in cadet. Both those categories putting on good shows for really what was a total of about 62 drivers in total, right, coming in from last year. So although they were both lower, like obviously sportsman went from 55 to 34, that kind of age gap or age group really actually had a pretty big jump as well.
Yeah, because you go from 55 to 62, essentially combining the two categories because of the split now, based on the age. So and you'll see that, probably you'll see the cadet number grow, and sportsman will obviously will bounce around, because you'll have kids moving up to junior, and then you'll have some cadet drivers moving up to sportsmen. So again, that'll be, it's a good opportunity. Nobody's going home because the field sizes are solid. If they stick around the, around 40 drivers each, that'll be a continued increase if they can continue to bring more drivers there.
Yeah, 77 was the big jump there for junior. 51 last year, up to 77. The senior light, medium, and heavy categories, which are open to the larger numbers to go to the ABCD heat race program. 89 in senior light. They ended up with 95 drivers in senior medium. So we'll see that 100 mark likely get to hit next year. 62 in senior heavy. And then the drivers like myself running both double duty and masters and legends. 48 drivers in our masters category, the biggest ever masters category at the Cup Karts North America Grand Nationals. And then legends, which is 50 years of age and older, which launched back in 2021. Got a couple, 38 drivers the last couple of years. They went 40 all told here for a grand total of 485 official drivers taking qualifying times. The bottom line is 485, a brand new standard. They went over 500, David, on entries. The talk during the weekend was, can we get to 600 next year? The way they've lined things up in terms of having the schedule with the last chance qualifiers and opening 4 categories up to multiple, heat races, they could quite easily, I think, go to probably 650, 700.
Well, let's see. Cap Masters and Legends at 58 if they keep with the same number. So you're looking at 10 plus 18, that's 28 more. And then you again, look at Sportsman Cadet, you're nearly doubling both of those. So yeah, I mean, that's going to add up 100 entries really quick, and you continue to add into senior heavy, senior light, senior medium until those big categories are capped. Even junior at 77, you can easily get 100 junior drivers competing at the Grand Nationals. So that's a reality now. Kid Kart will obviously be one that'll stick around in that area, depending on the continued growth of that. And you always have graduation into the cadet division. So 600 is not unrealistic. Now that we thought 500 was unrealistic.
I know.
I'm going to say 600 is not unrealistic.
No.
It's the Canada division is growing. You got the new Northeast program that is building momentum in the Northeast. Of course, you have the flagship North division that continues to go, and then the South program that'll be starting up here just in a couple months. So, and there's talk about down the road expanding out west. So there's no doubt about it. There were a lot of West Coast racers there. So that's good to see, but you can always bring more of those guys, those drivers this way to the one-off race that is the Cup Karts North America Grand Nationals.
That is exactly that, folks. We are underway with episode 119 of our EKN Debrief, discussing this past weekend's Cup Karts North America Grand National 7th with invaded Newcastle Motorsports Park. When we get back after this break, we'll hit on the paddock pass, talk a little bit about the stuff that's not class-by-class race report oriented. Stay with us. More to come here on the EKN Radio Network. Ready to step up your game? Joining the Rawlison Performance Group is the obvious choice to take your racing to the next level. Industry-leading driver development is provided by our staff of multi-time national champions, Super Nationals winners, and Team USA members. And at the same time, RPG continues to be a national-level powerhouse race team. Our goal is to help you raise your game and win races. We work with all age groups and are focused on developing those cadet and junior drivers who are ready to take the next step in their racing program. Rawlison Performance Group has set a new standard with our in-house engine program, AVP Engines, headed by Alex Vincent. AVP has become the benchmark in IAME competition. We have the largest OTK inventory that follows our race team, providing trackside parts at all the major events in North America. RPG also offers multilingual support with French, Spanish, and Portuguese-speaking staff. If you want to fight for championships or want to improve your skills and your chances to win, the answer is to call RPG at 503-260-4514. The Rawlison Performance Group. We race to win. Made in the USA. That's exactly what you get from Precision Karting Technologies. Based in Detroit, Michigan, PKT brings over 35 years of manufacturing experience to the sport of karting. Their passion for the sport began focusing around the Kid Kart platform and has expanded every year with hundreds of products designed to put you on the podium. Precision Karting Technologies is known around North America for their successful line of axles available in all age groups. PKT manufactures a number of engine products for Comer, IAME, Rock, Rotax, and the popular Briggs & Stratton 206. A wide variety of chassis components for the many brands in the sport are available through PKT, including hubs, pedal risers, skid plates, and other hardware for your kart. Axle straightening, chassis adjustments, engine service, and specific CNC machining projects are available through their Motor City headquarters. To learn more about the many products and services available from Precision Karting Technologies, head to pktaxles.com.
Wins in the sport's biggest races and championships in national and regional series all over the country, they're all on Nitro Kart's growing resume. Nitro Kart continues to make its statement as the best, fastest, and winningest cadet chassis on the American market. In 2021, Nitro Kart won the 3 biggest crowns in America in the Microswift division, with Mateo Rosu in the SCUSA Pro Tour and both the Super Nationals and the USPKS titles with Keelan Harvick. At the Super Nats alone, 3 of the top 5 drivers on the podium got there on a Nitro Kart. The results are clear. If you want to win in cadet, get a Nitro Kart and join our team. At Nitro Kart, we're all about driver development. Nick Tucker and the Nitro Crew's racing resumes are extensive, and their passion for helping our kids learn is unparalleled. Racing is about consistent learning, and that's what we're all about here at Nitro Kart. Never wanting to quit, we've continued to extend the reach of our driver development program. In addition to expanding into the junior and senior karting categories, we've also launched Nitro Motorsports, which will field 2 cars this season in the Trans Am by Pirelli series, one being piloted by karting champion Brent Cruz. Not only can we develop your young driver, but we can also provide the platform if a move to cars is in your plan. And our second seat is available. If you're serious about your driver's career, contact us today.
Welcome back to the EKN Debrief, episode number 119, the CKNA Grand Nationals, our focus of the race report today. We're jumping into the paddock pass presented by Margay Racing. Do you want to be part of the fastest growing series in the sport? Check out Margay Racing's Spec Ignite packages. Nothing matches the affordability and competitive level of the Ignite program, where the best driver wins over the best equipment. For more information, please visit ignitekarting.com today. Get off the couch and into a race seat with Margay Racing. All right, David, let's have a look at some of the paddock pass stuff. Obviously, we're going to jump into the race report after this next break, but let's talk about paddock pass. Let's just talk about some of the stuff that you and I picked up being trackside. working our way through the paddock, whatever it may be.
It's interesting because we keep talking about rain. Well, rain was a factor for a number of years at the Grand Nationals, but this has been the second year now. We did have a little bit of a wet track to begin on Thursday practice, but everybody was basically on. I think they were on slick tires or dry tires. So, but to go the whole event without having an official wet session, I know there was a little bit of a drizzle in the pre-qualifying session for senior medium just after we got done with masters. But that's pretty solid to have that, because to have that back-to-back years, it's going to be something that is going to be wanted and needed in the future, because I think people enjoyed it. But it'll be tough to continue that streak going into 2024.
Yeah, we'll see. You never know. It all depends on when this race ends up, getting scheduled as well. They actually didn't come out and lock down the date. I didn't hear. Did you hear anybody lock down a date for 2024? I don't think I did.
It was not announced as far as I know. I know it's in discussion. As far as I know, nothing's officially has been announced. And I know that's another bullet point is because they're talking about starting 2024 in the month of December. Brett Spotty's working with the Winter Nationals and moving it to the month of December. So that's going to be coming official here soon. I know they're looking at either this week or next week to making everything official. So stay tuned to that.
There you go. Yeah. So David dropping some tea there. One of the cool things, David, obviously this is the biggest race we've had so far in 2023. One of the things I thought was very interesting was, and it's kind of happened over the last couple of years, and not surprising, the whole "if you build it, they will come" kind of thing. It's not only about Briggs 206 racers, right? The regular 4-cycle guys. You're seeing a lot of drivers from maybe the 2-cycle top national series and regional series want to be part of this, right? Some of the guys have never driven a 206 before, but they're like, I want to be part of this event. I don't want to miss out. So we saw a bunch of top 2-cycle stars be part of this action as well.
Yeah, or they don't regularly race 4-cycle, but they're now making this almost like an annual one-off for themselves in Briggs 206 racing because of the competition level, because of the prestige of the event now. Everybody's putting this on their calendar. Now, it's not to say we're going to have a Ryan Norberg or a Marion Kremers, come and race the Cup Karts North America Grand Nationals. But, you got your Jarza Cracks, your Paulie Massiminos, your Austin Garrisons, drivers who have had many and good success in 2-cycle racing, continue to have that. But mark this, it's almost like they have more fun at an event like this. Not as much pressure built up as you'll see them at a SCUSA or USPKS race. So, and even the junior drivers, there's a number of junior drivers. There's some drivers that have moved up to his senior ranks, like an Austin Olds. He raced senior this weekend. And also cadets. We saw some drivers that were at the Road Tax U.S. Trophy Final that came right back, including one of our winners there. So
exactly that.
That's again, it's just the 4-cycle program welcomes everybody, and I think that's one of the great things about it, and why the numbers are so big, because you have a lot of club drivers. That's the majority, I think, of the entries are club and regional drivers that are racing at this event. And then you sprinkle in some drivers that you see on a regular basis at the national level. And so it just makes it has that feel of, again, I keep saying it, the runoffs. It's kind of a big melting pot of everyone in the sport.
One of the cool things I thought as part of the paddock, two little paddock notes for me. Number one is I love the fact that, especially at this grassroots level racing, there's so many American manufacturers that are involved as well, right? Which I think is super cool to see the Coyotes, Invader, MGM, Margay, right? We're seeing a bunch of all these, Ionic Edge. We're seeing a lot of domestic manufacturers at a race like this, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah, and that's one, 4-cycle racing is kind of the avenue that those manufacturers have kind of kept to. Obviously the 2-cycle world across the globe has just blown up, and all the manufacturers are now based around in Europe, and so that 4-cycle racing really has continued to be kind of American focused, even though the Briggs and Stratton 206 platform has gone global. Majority of your grassroots racers are stick to the 4-cycle side of things, and it's more familiar. It's what they came up through the sport in. And it just kind of works out, but it's funny to see kind of the mixture. There was a lot of the American brands that had a lot of success, but you had some of the European models coming in that do very well in the lower horsepower categories. So it's a good mix, but it's great to see the drive and focus of the American manufacturers to be the best at this event and at 4-cycle racing.
Yeah, and I'll tell you one of the other things, just so I talk about being the two notes from being in the paddock. One of the things for me, and it was a stark contrast to what we normally see when you and I are doing a lot of national racing, is I think it might have been the Friday night when I first saw it, was we were working away I was with obviously John Seglem and Precision Performance Karting. You were and Brandon Jurassic Crack Racing. You were with LSR Motorsports and CRG Nordam. But we were kind of there late working on some stuff, wrapping things up, and then I kind of walked around, went back inside went over to get inside the Racers Grill, and just the sheer amount of every group or tent or family, they were all grilling. Like they were all like at the end of the day, it wasn't people bailing back to the hotel to go to a restaurant. The grills were set up. You could see, it was the atmosphere trackside later on where everybody was just kind of hanging out and doing that old school, barbecuing together. I thought that was so cool at the end of those days for me.
Yeah, and there were probably more RVs at this event, or tents that you've seen any other event. So, that's part of it as well too. So you're going to see people grilling out because they're there all week. That's home. They're not going to a hotel. So that's a little bit of a different side of 4-cycle racing compared to 2-cycle racing. They also had the divisional banquets each night, Thursday night and Friday night. Had 2 divisions on Thursday, 2 divisions on Friday, so that kept a lot of people at the racetrack a little bit later as well too.
And the Saturday party,
and then Saturday, there's been the chili cook-off has been going on for a number of years, but this time, Cup Karts really wanted to back it up, and so for those who didn't want to partake in the chili, Mike Adams and Greg Jasperson put a couple grills together, got some hot dogs, hamburgers, and free beverages. So, you can't go wrong with that. And, got a lot of people sitting outside turn 1, enjoying the chili contest and just sitting around bench racing and talking about the day's activities. Yeah,
that was a ton of fun for sure. Let's cap off this edition of the Paddock Pass brought to you by Margay Racing with the question of this, David. We talked a little bit by the numbers. How big can we expand the fields, or is there a concept that potentially, because I'll say this, we'll bring it up in Paddock Pass as opposed to at the end of the show, because I was in a bunch of conversations. You were in a bunch of conversations about this. Do we limit the future Grand Nationals in terms of how many people can come? Do you need to qualify to come? That was kind of I think, because I know later on we'll talk at the end about kind of the little bit of roughness of the racing, but there was a lot of people that were chatting about whether or not you needed to qualify to come to the Grand Nationals.
Yeah. In the many conversations, both online in our face-to-face shows and off air with Greg Jasperson and Stephen Vermeer, they're not here to tell you no. They're here to welcome anybody and everybody. Yeah. In a way. So the thought of that, I can understand it from racers' perspective about, if they're getting beat off the racetrack every single session, every single lap, kind of monitoring that. But, when you got 10 officials on the racetrack looking at everything, they should be calling stuff. Now, because we were racing, I don't have the full insight into how many penalties were called, how all that was being worked out. It's a little tougher when we're trying to do double duty, and I was really focused on racing. I don't know about you, but
I was pretty much there. That's all I had.
So
somebody maybe do double duty.
Yeah, I did.
That's all I could focus on.
But again, they're here to make this the biggest race they can.
Agreed.
And not to limit that. So I understand the viewpoint of limiting the entry or having to qualify. Somebody said, maybe do like the old school, you had to get punches. So you have to race a divisional in order to be at the Grand Nationals. And I look at the numbers and I'm like, well, then you're going to be limited to probably 200 entries rather than possible 600 entries.
And it wouldn't be what it is.
And it wouldn't be what it is. You know, again, this isn't an all-star race.
Yeah.
This is a gathering of 4-cycle racers who want to come and race and compete against one another to determine who's the best on the weekend. And, you know, because again, it's not a yearly thing. It's a one-off. It's how you do that weekend. Again, because there's a lot of good drivers that struggled or ran into issues, and that it's going to happen. And we know too well of that.
Yeah, very true. Very true. All right, folks, that's your paddock pass. When we get back after this break, we'll jump into the race report. We'll get started with the 3 senior categories. We'll roll into senior light, senior medium, and senior heavy. Stay tuned. More to come here on the EKN Radio Network. There's a new hot button name in American safety equipment, Stilo USA. Every product with Stilo is focused on safety, comfort, and function. Stilo USA is happy to provide you with the proper safety apparel to keep you protected on the track, and their karting lineup is second to none. The ST5 KRT karting helmet is available for $599. Manufactured using a lightweight and extremely strong composite material, the KRT provides an excellent fit and comfort level due to its dual density interior foam lining, and it's equipped with a symmetrical visor that offers excellent vision and an effortless central visor locking system. The ST5 CMR standard was developed jointly by the FIA Institute and Snell Memorial Foundation to ensure safer and lighter weight helmets for the younger karters. Drivers rave about the superior comfort levels, lightweight construction, and the unparalleled field of vision. The perfect youth helmet is available for $549. Stilo didn't stop with their helmets either. The newly developed Carbon Curva Rib Protector is unlike any on the market, with its form-fitting solution to offer superior protection. Head to StiloHelmets.com to review these and many more products to keep you safe on the track. Stilo. Any competition, one helmet. For over 20 years, Greg Bell has been building race-winning power for kart racers. One need only look at his team, Leading Edge Motorsports. He's always built engines for his team, and the results have been wins at the biggest races in America, the SCUSA Super Nationals and the Rock Vegas events. The name on this program, Mega Power. This year alone, Bell and Danny Formel teamed up to sweep the Rock Shifter class on the Florida Winter Tour, all on a Mega Power engine. If you want to win shifter kart races, it's time to put Mega Power on your kart. Mega Power specializes in gearbox engines, such as the TMKZ, Rock Shifter, and IME Shifter, but with almost 3 decades of engine building experience, Bell develops winning motors for X30 and Mini Swift and everything in between. The combination of Greg Bell's engine building skills and his chassis tuning knowledge is a potent mixture. Greg's helped catapult many drivers to wins over the years, including Mercedes F1 star George Russell, who won the Supernats 14 in 2011 with Leading Edge Motorsports. Increase your odds of winning at this year's Rock Vegas or Super National events or throughout 2023 by calling Greg Bell today at 209-747-2613 to put Mega Power in your corner. In racing, experience is priceless. Franklin Motorsports is a leader in the karting industry with over 50 years of combined karting experience, and we can provide you with everything you need to go racing. With a large online product selection, select track support events, and a wide variety of shop services, Franklin Motorsports is your complete karting source. Check out our online store at www.franklinkart.com, where all our products are just a mouse click away. We're constantly adding to the growing product selection on the online store, and we ship daily to ensure products get to you quickly. We specialize in IAME engines, tilt seats, ceramic products, driveline branded products, Briggs & Stratton engines, OTK products, and of course, the championship-winning Merlin chassis. In our online store, you'll find a variety of items to fill your karting needs. Franklin Motorsports is also known for our wide variety of services and is home to Innovative Engine Works by FMS, our in-house engine service department. Frame straightening, kart prep, and dyno testing are all services offered regularly at Franklin Motorsports. For all things karting, visit franklinkart.com. Welcome back to the EKN Debrief podcast, episode number 119. David Cole, myself, Rob Howden, diving into this Cup Karts North America Grand Nationals, biggest event in 7-year history. Over 500 entries total when they rolled in, about 485 actually taking a qualifying time. So it's time to talk about that. Let's roll into the race report presented today by Comet Kart Sales. History, success, family. These are 3 words that describe Comet Kart Sales, one of the longest tenured karting businesses in the United States. The family-owned operation is located just outside Indianapolis and has provided karts, parts, and services for thousands of racers in their near 6 decades of business. Their online store features everything you need, and they are continually adding parts to their product line. Make sure you head to CometKartSales.com or call them at 317-462-3413 to be part of the Comet Kart Sales family today. All right, David, let's roll in here. 95 drivers in senior medium, former winners Colin Warren, Jeremy Warren, Gary Lawson, Jordan Pryor, Jacob Donald, and Mick Gabriel. This was going to be an interesting one when it all came down because the Coyote crew was pretty strong, came out of the gate big time, and they actually all got started with James Overbeck qualifying on the pole with a 112.572 for Precision Performance Karting.
Yeah, Ian Quinn, second in qualifying. Eli Warren, last year's junior winner, in the 3rd position. Brandon Jarzacrack 4th, and Eli Fox 5th. So a good kind of mix of chassis there. You got Coyote, Burrell Art, you have OTK, you have Coyote, and then I believe Eli Fox on an MGM. So a lot, again, that was kind of the theme, as we saw a lot of different brands towards the front in senior medium fighting for the number 1 spot. But over the heat races, it was really only 2 chassis that were there. It was the VLR of Colin Warren, who won 3 heat races. So he went 3 for 3. Paulie Massimino and the Coyote picking up 2 wins, and then Overbeck actually winning his last heat race. So he was able to notch at least 1 win after setting fast time and qualifying. So that kind of mixed up the order a little bit with Warren and Massimino there, setting up on the front row. Christopher McKeithen and Overbeck on the Coyotes in row 2, and then Hudson Brown, which has been a driver to watch. He was a Northeast champion. He was kind of in the mix as well all weekend long, and sitting there in 5th to start the main event.
The cool factor of running the 206 category at Newcastle Motorsports Park, there are a number of places to overtake, and you had to lead the front grids or the front packs. If they worked together, we saw guys able to pull away in the heat races and the mains. But when obviously it was, when you're battling with potential team members, there was a lot of guys that I like to use the term disruptors, right, David? Guys were in there were like, okay, I'm not going to let this thing just shake down the way it is. There were guys that wanted to lead. You'd fall back a little bit. You'd be leading 1 lap. You'd be back in 5th the next lap. That's kind of, I think, the way it kind of played out, that there was just so much back and forth action that in the end of this one here, one of the kids that's been super impressive throughout the year, Christopher McKeithen, was the driver actually who came out with a big victory over Quinn. Bottom line was a great scrapping for second, but McKeithen over the final couple laps was able to pull away.
Yeah, he got a little help. James Overbeck was a little bit of a disturbance for the other competitors, and actually was removed from the racetrack as they were taking the white flag, received a black flag, and talking to officials, I believe I was told he received 4 penalties in the race alone.
Whoa.
Thus was given the actual black flag to be removed from the racetrack. So excessive penalties was the call on that. So by that time, however, McKeithen had a pretty solid lead, taking the white flag, and so what basically went unchallenged to the victory. But overall, a great drive for him to be able to get out front and get away from all the craziness that was happening behind him. With Overbeck pulling off the racetrack, Ian Quinn was able to win the battle for second, getting to the line ahead of Adam Maxwell on a Coyote. Jake Hevlo on an Invader finishing 4th, and Paulie Massimino rounding out the top 5 podium.
Yeah, Massimino fell back a little bit and had to scrap his way back forward and was able to get to the kind of tail end of that next group. The hard charger of the race, Jacob Duval, 37 spot advancement, probably one of the bigger advancements of the entire event, I would think. 55th starting, very deep in the field, ended up working his way up into the 18th position. Great run for Jacob Duval. David, we really kind of were treated to three big senior races with light and heavy as well. 89 drivers in the light category. We mentioned Colin Warren, a multi-time winner in the medium class. He's got 2 wins. He won the first year of the light category back in 2020, won in 2021 as well. Jordan Pryor in 2022. You mentioned James Overbeck on the Coyote. He was quick all weekend long, qualified P1 for senior light.
Yeah, and a 1:11.793. So I believe that was the quickest qualifying lap of the weekend. Austin Garrison in the GFC sitting second on the time chart ahead of Christopher McKeithen. Henry Wheeler on the Charles Leclerc cart, I believe, or Burrell Art, one of the Red Army machines with Mark Steele Racing, and Paulie Massimino completing the Fast Five. Looking at the heat races, Massimino, the only driver to pick up 2 wins over the 6 different heat races, of course, ABDC format. Massimino picking up 2. You had Austin Garrison, Overbeck, McKeithen, and Clark. Keegan Clark picking up a heat win as well, too. So a lot of different drivers in the mix during the heat races for senior light. That set up the main event grid to look like this. Paulie Massimino and James Overbeck on the front row. Christopher McKeithen and Brandon Jarzakrak on row 2 to give Coyote 1, 2, 3, 4 starting positions, with Colin Warren going from P5.
Yeah, you look over the last couple of years with Brandon Jarzakrak hooking up with John Seglem from Precision Performance Karting, and of course working very closely with Jim and Mark Lipari from Coyote Motorsports, David. They've worked very hard on I know, evolving the chassis, the Coyote chassis, and Jarzakrak was a big part of that R&D and the development. And this has got to be the zenith of this, right? And I didn't mean to use the word zenith because
I heard you say it.
Pretty solid, right? The Coyote zenith is the chassis, but the zenith of the whole thing, the kind of top point, this has to be the culmination of all that work, David, because in the end, they came across the line essentially 2 wide, 2 deep. Coyote 1, 2, 3, 4 with Overbeck getting the win by just 13 thousandths of a second from Paulie Massimino. But man, that was a big race for Coyote.
Yeah, they just will all work together because it was Colin Warren and Austin Garrison trying to get in there and trying to mix it up and break up the train of the 4 Coyote drivers, and they just were not able to. Yeah, they were just not able to do that. It was Massimino and Overbeck that were up front for a majority of the race. McKeithen and Jarzakrak back there running 3rd and 4th, but Warren. I think it was Garrison lost a draft first, and then eventually Warren got shuffled back as well too, and so they were just sitting there, unable to compete against the 4 drivers as they continued to run nose to tail until the final lap. A little bit of competition between Overbeck and Massimino for the top spot, and it was a drag race to the line. Overbeck taking the victory by 13 thousandths of a second.
Was that the closest finish, Dave, on the weekend?
I believe for the main events it is.
Okay. Yeah. So again, hard charger David Barnes started 58th, ends up driving his way up 30 spots to 28th position. So great job for David Barnes there. Capping off our senior category, 62 entries all told in the senior heavy class. Curtis Fox, Canadian, winning back in 2019. Gary Lawson, 2020. Adam Maxwell, who was a podium finisher this year, won the category in 2021. Eric Fagan last year. Jake Heblow, though, as you mentioned, we've talked about him already. He was the fastest driver in qualifying, outgunning Colin Aiken, Sean Meyer, Jerry Fandry, and Eli Fox. David, another big grid, so a lot of heat races and a number of different winners. I want to say that I think there was 6 different winners.
Six different winners and 6 different heat races. You had Heblow and Aitken taking the first round. Eli Fox and I believe it was PJ Lida. Let me double check that. Yeah, PJ Lida winning heat number 2, and then Nick Sobiak and Eric Fagan winning in the heat 3 rounds. So 6 different winners, 6 different heat races. So that I was in this field, and I tell you what, man, it was a very competitive field. You made a mistake, you lost positions right away.
Yeah,
So that set up the grid with actually Fagan taking the pole position ahead of Chris Carroll, who didn't win a heat race, but consistency over his 3 heat races put him on the front row for the main event alongside or just ahead of PJ Lida and David Vasquez in row 2, and then Eli Fox starting from P5.
Yeah, David, this thing kind of settled in as we would have expected with a big lead pack kind of getting rolling, 6-driver lead pack early on. Chris Carroll led a majority of the race, but it came down to the battle, right, between Fagan and Fandry. As they went at it, they went to P1 and P2, and it all came down to a big scrap on the last lap over in the Monza corner, where things got a little crazy and allowed Chris Carroll to emerge as the winner.
Yeah, when the 2 drivers in front get together and you're sitting third, it's the greatest present you can receive because it allows you that one last corner to get through and the run to the checker flag. And Chris Carroll was able to celebrate a victory as he took the checker flag just under 2/10 ahead of David Vasquez, who slipped past Fandry and Fagan, and then Jake Hevlo finishing in the 5th spot.
Yeah, Fandry on the EOS, Fagan on the MGM, Hevlo on the Invader. And indeed, as we said, Chris Carroll coming through. So it was a coyote sweep of the senior categories with McKeithen, Overbeck, and then Carroll. Hard charger Caleb Case up 18 spots, started 42nd and powered his way forward to the 24th position. It was some great racing in the senior categories, but not to be outdone were Masters and Legends. They put on a good show as well. We'll come back with more on the Race Report presented by Comet Kart Sales.
You want the best, you just gotta roll with the best. Streeter Superstands. This is Jeff Wessel from StreeterSuperstands.com. You wouldn't put subpar parts on your racing cart, so why put that cherished ride of yours on anything but karting's #1 lifts and stands, Streeter Superstands. Streeter is the original and genuine manufacturer of the second-to-none Bigfoot rolling stands, stackers, uprights, and industry-leading Superlift. We also manufacture and sell the largest and always growing roster of trailer and shop accessories like tire, engine and jug racks, cabinets, spray can trays, bead breakers, and tons more to outfit any size trailer, team, and budget. Streeter Superstands has over 30 continuous years of experience. We're kart racers just like you and know that the Streeter name represents the absolute best in stands, lifts, and accessories for karting enthusiasts worldwide. Durability, affordability, unmatched quality, and customer service, that's what sets us apart from the rest. Check us out now at StreeterSuperstands.com. Roll with the best, StreeterSuperstands.com.
It all started in 1994 when former successful kart driver Albino Parolin decided to move his passion for karting from the track to his small workshop. That's when Parolin was born. Fast forward 20 years, and Parolin's passion for the sport led to the company rejoining international competitions as a factory team in WSK and CIK FIA races, with the aim of enhancing the research and development process, immediately achieving notable results around Europe, North America, and Asia, becoming the CIK FIA Asia Pacific KZ champion in the same year. Parolin USA is North America's source for Parolin products, and we run a factory team at all of the major Superkarts USA and Rock Cup USA events. The Parolin chassis lineup for 2021 includes the Invader Shifter, the Le Mans Tag single-speed chassis for junior and senior classes, and the 28mm mini kart for the cadet classes. Parolin has been winning races all over the world, and it's on top of the podium in the USA as well, with drivers like Kai Sorensen, Mateus Orjuela, and Alessandro De Tullio. Get on the chassis that's winning. Drive a Parolin. For more information, head to ParolinUSA.com. CRG is one of the most iconic brands in karting, and we're primed and ready for the 2022 season with new material and a never-ending focus on winning. CRG Nordam is the North American distributor for all CRG products. Based outside of Houston, Texas, CRG Nordam supports CRG dealers across the continent, reaching every corner of North America. The CRG KT5 is our new chassis for tag and shifter racing, and it's been designed specifically for the US market. The KT5 features 30mm construction with a 32mm front loop to increase front grip. CRG's new VEN 13 brake system is cutting-edge technology with a master cylinder that allows for pressure regulation within the system. drivers can customize brake pressure to their own requirements to improve feel and to avoid brake lockup. The kart is finished with new KG 507, 508 bodywork that has refined aerodynamics and reduced weight. For cadet drivers, the 2022 CRG Black Mirror is already logging positive results to start the new season. This chassis will be making big waves in 2022. Longtime CRG drivers will be happy to know that the CRG Road Rebel, the standard in quality and performance, is still available. With four-cycle racing enjoying consistent growth in North America, CRG's FS4 chassis is the ideal choice for racers in Briggs & Stratton competition. From pure racing to karting entertainment, many tracks, both indoor and outdoor, have made the switch to the CRG Centurion rental kart line. 5 different models for both gas-powered or electric engines can fit any track's needs for a new rental kart fleet. CRG Nordam has a full inventory of rental karts available for new and existing facilities. For more information on the CRG product line, head to www.kartcrg.com, and to inquire about a North American dealer near you, please email us at info@kartcrg-nordam.com. Welcome back to the EKN Radio Network, our EKN debrief of the CKNA Grand National 7th of Newcastle Motorsports Park. This is episode number 119. My name is Rob Howden, joined by David Cole. I was actually in these two categories. David, you mentioned the fact that you were racing senior heavy as well. Let's look at our Masters category. 48 entries coming into the weekend. Scott Jeffrey's a winner, Michael Welsh, Nick Tucker, Brandon Adkins, Michael Dittmer, and Eric Fagan all winning through the history of this Masters category, but a solid little run for qualifying for a guy that we know from the national level.
Yeah, I'm not sure I know this guy. Ben Crittenden of Super Tune, and originally back with First Kart back in the day when we first met him in the early 2000s. Ben, we raced him at Battle of the Brickyard as well too. So that he came out for his one-off weekend and put his Tony Kart on the pole position. I did not get a lap time. Sorry about that. Which was, you knew he was going to be fast. And he did a 1:13.879. So a very fast lap for him, nearly just as quick as the heavy quick time in qualifying. So he was able to outpace Eric Fagan, Mark Steele, Ryan Cassidy, and Jeff Shaw for the Fast Five.
Yeah, Fagan came back and scored the opening couple of heat races. Mark Steele was able to snag one as well. Those two drivers, David, with their performances in the heats. Again, just the straight heats here, not the A, B, C, D we saw in the larger categories. So these guys kind of faced off each other as the rest of the fields did. 3 times in a row, once on Friday, twice on Saturday, and then of course the main event on Sunday. So Fagan and Steele on the front row, they essentially pulled away, David, if I'm not mistaken, right? I had to go back and watch the videos. Again, you and I were both driving ourselves at this point.
Yeah, I had a better view than you did.
You did. Yeah, 100% you did.
It was, I mean, for a while, it was a 3-driver runaway. Shaw was sitting there with Fagan and Steele. Eventually, Shaw just kind of lost the draft, very similar to what happened to Warren and Garrison in that senior light heat race. So it was basically a 2-driver fight for the victory of Fagan and Steele. We kind of all figured that's what it was going to be. Ended up being that way. And it was a very similar finish to what we saw in heavy as Fagan tried to make a move. Very similar. Steele was able to pull off, to pull away from the Monza corner with the lead, and then was able to win the drag race to the line as Mark Steele, the Canadian, now living in Ohio, winning by 47 thousandths of a second.
Fagan on the MGM finishing second, Shaw on the VLR third, Todd Barron on the Arrow in the 4th spot, and Sean O'Shea on the Eagle rounding out the top 5. David Galonia on a Burrell Arts ends up being the hard charger. Started 42nd, very tail of the field, essentially came up to 15th. David had a really rough weekend. I watched him come in on the loser cruiser after a big wreck in the opening race, just demoed the front of the go-kart. And then I think he had another off as well. Got shooken off as well on the second Masters heat. I actually watched that because I didn't run the second Masters heat to focus on Legends. He got taken out, I think, coming out of turn number 1 or turn number 1 between 1 and 2, he got taken out to the right side there. So for him, it just was, hey, coming forward. And he blew by me like I was standing still. I was able to hold him a little bit, but he was significantly faster than me and kind of pulled away to the next group. So good for him to get his way up into 15th. But let's talk about our head-to-head battle. It was a hashtag beat Rob Howden. You smoked me pretty soundly, David. Overall, you got to be happy just with the performance. I know you didn't like the way the result rolled out because, dude, you were P4, man. You were looking at a podium finish.
Well, yeah, I was wondering if you were going to mention that with the asterisks there on 4th and 5th there.
Yeah, I was going to go there. Then
you report it. I can't report it. I was
true.
part of it.
That's true. So the battle at the end, and again, I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. I've just seen video, and of course, talking to everybody that happened. So David, of course, running P4, doing a great job there in that next group, battling with Chris Jamara, and who was behind Chris? Was it Barron? It was Barron.
So
right?
I was running. So it was me and Chris running down Todd Barron, who was sitting 4th.
Okay.
We were able to run him down, get by him. I believe both myself and Chris were able to get by him. So that set up basically the last 2-lap battle. Yeah.
So it was a penultimate lap. Essentially, Jamara makes the move to the inside over in turn number 5. Kind of a slider on Dave and Cole. Cole ends up off in the grass, brings it back on. He drops down a couple positions. In the end, they penalized Jamara, I think, 1 spot down to 5th. So he's still on the podium. And then post-race, they moved him behind you, I believe, for the contact between you and him, right? Where did you end up finishing, 6th or 7th?
I crossed the line in the 8th position. Sean O'Shea and Ian McIntyre. They were able to get by me on the last lap. My tires just felt like crap.
Okay.
My body felt like crap too because I was completely exhausted. Pizza, burger, and rum diet did not last the full 16 laps.
That is funny.
funny. So ended up crossing the line at 8th. The penalty for Chris dropped him behind me. So that moved Sean O'Shea up into the 5th spot on the podium. Ian McIntyre 6th, of course, Todd Barron in the 4th position.
Yeah, and you end up with a strong 7th place. Overall, David, you weren't in that top 5 from the get, which I think is kind of crucial. You and I don't race a lot.
I qualified 22nd.
There you go. You and I don't race a lot, right? So when we get in there, we're like I said, same thing happened with me last year at this race when I think my fastest lap was lap 12 of the 16-lap main event. Same thing happened to the Supernats. My fastest lap at the Supernats was lap 12 of 20 in the main event. Like, we just keep getting faster. And you did that working with you and Jeffrey at CRG Nordam and LSR Motorsports. You were able to get faster and faster. And like you said, you qualified outside the top 20 and you just kept moving forward and they kept dialing in the chassis. You guys had that FS4 really dialed in the end. And like I said, you were in the position and had the pace to run top 5.
If there was a better driver in it, it would have won. I can tell you that without a doubt. We were able to put the 4th quickest lap in the main event. So the only quickest drivers were Mark Steele, Eric Fagan, and Jeff Shaw. So felt pretty good. I did get a lot of push from Chris Jamara to be able to get that fast lap on lap 12. But that thing was rolling. We're just making little changes here and there, not making too drastic changes, keeping focus on what the tires were doing. I think that's what it boiled down to, just making those little bits of changes. You don't have to throw the whole kitchen sink at it. And Ewan knows his product, that's what it boils down to. Marshall Martin and Ryan Sprowski and Happy, they've done a lot of changes to the chassis over this year with the way it's actually welded and designed. So they've to kind of encompass the tire that they do run at Cup Karts North America. So it's a winning kart. There's no doubt about it. We'll talk a little bit later about another podium finish for a CRG driver as well. So it definitely has the ability to be up front every weekend.
Yeah, we in the happy hour, I didn't make the split to go to the fast group. I went a slow group, and I did not have a good qualifying run. I just did not do well at it at all. So I qualified kind of deeper in the field. I think 32nd or 33rd or something like that. Ran my way up to 23rd, I think, or 23rd or 24th in the first heat race, but then elected to skip the second Masters heat race to focus on Legends because, like David, I was kind of running out of gas physically as well. I wanted to make sure that I was going to be good in my primary category. But then David, I came back and I started dead last. 49th or 48th in the third heat race. And that was about the most fun I've had in a long time, because I was able to power my way forward big time as well. I think I passed 23 or 24 carts on the way back up from 48th, which was flipping awesome. I had such a good time rolling my way back forward. I rolled off 31st off the grid, kind of trying to stay out of trouble a little bit, but I moved forward big time. I there was obviously some attrition, but I worked my way into the top 20, was 19th, closed over the last couple laps, closed quickly up with the driver at 18th, but just couldn't find a way by. So while you were up there battling your way for a podium, I was trying to scrap my way into the top 20, top 15. All told, in the end, I was pretty happy having missed a race, coming home P19. So it was a fun time in Masters. I wasn't sure that I was going to run it coming into Sunday, because I knew I'd be tired after Legends, but I felt good in Legends, and with a 4-hour break between categories, I got a chance to do 16 more laps, which was fun.
Yeah, that break helps. We talked about that. There was an hour between each of our sessions, so it helped that side of things, because you weren't rushing to get changes done. But there's no for you. I think next year is a focus on Legends for sure.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Speaking of Legends, 40 drivers in total, the biggest class they've had in Legends. Todd Barron and Ryan Cassidy have been the previous winners. Ryan Cassidy is just flat out impressive. This guy is
a machine,
and he's just people ask about Ryan, who maybe are new to the sport. Right, I'm saying this is the guy that when I first came into the sport in the mid '90s would read like WK's World Karting magazine. You flip it over and it'd be Ryan and his brother winning, right? Factory Coyote drivers, right? These guys are legends. Not only do they run in Legends, but they're flipping legends in our sport. So to not just to be able to run near Ryan, to me, is a big thing. Coming out of the gate, though, Tim Hannon from Oakland Valley Raceway Park was the fastest driver. Tim had a lot of speed throughout the entire weekend. A 1:14.271. He qualifies on the pole. Cassidy in second, not surprising. Todd Barron, the Canadian Steve Lyons, who I've known for many years, in fourth. And local driver Doug Cook in P5 to get things underway. But David, Cassidy kind of took control of things and won all three heat races.
Yeah, the three wins in the heats were pretty solid wins. I'm trying to remember. I kept watching you, so I really wasn't watching up front. That's not a dig. Sorry.
It's okay, dude. I can live with it.
I'm thinking it's a dig, but it's not. But yeah, just Cassidy. It kind of. We thought Barron was going to be the challenger. Obviously, Hannon qualifying on the pole was a new challenger, but Cassidy it was just a machine. I mean, really, what it was. Just kept himself up front, and anytime somebody got close, just dug a little bit more. And but there was a lot of guys that were kept trying to move into the second spot too, so that was part of the issues as well. So his 3 heat wins put him at the pole position, with Lyons starting on the outside of the front row. James Perkins in third, Tim Hannon fourth, and then MacArthur in the 5th spot.
Yeah, Jamie MacArthur, who was a top 5 runner last year as well. You can talk a little bit about kind of when the race rolled. I did watch a bit of it just to see. I had to have a look at my turn 1 wreck to see how it kind of played out. But yeah, there was a good group up front with Cassidy, MacArthur, Perkins. Jeff Scott got a good start too. He started in front of me in I think 9th, and he got a really good jump, and Scott, I think, turned the fast lap of the race as well. Jeff was really good. Once kind of things shook down, he was able to get out of the chaos of the opening couple of corners and lock his way into a 4 battle.
It kind of reminded me of cadet racing, because there was the one driver that everybody was trying to beat, but nobody would work together to beat him.
Yeah.
You had a lot of guys that were trying. I think Perkins was the only driver to take the lead from Cassidy, and Cassidy came right back and took the spot, because he knew he wanted to be out front, and that's where he wanted to be.
Yeah.
And you had MacArthur racing for the spot. You had Perkins. You had Hannon in there too. Eli Yanko was in there along with Todd Barron. Yanko and Barron got together, so that took them out of contention. So it kind of allowed it to be just MacArthur and Perkins that were right there behind Cassidy. But the man was just, on rails, continued to get quicker and quicker as the race went on, ran his quickest lap on lap 14.
There you go.
And essentially, that was kind of the difference, because he was not challenged in the final 2 laps. driving away to a 4/10 margin of victory for his second straight win at the Cup Karts North America Grand Nationals.
Yeah, MacArthur and Perkins had a good run. Remember James Perkins on the podium last year. I believe he hooked up with Eli Yanko last year to try to catch up to Cassidy. Wasn't able to get it done there. He was battling with MacArthur this year. MacArthur got a penalty last year for contact with James Insco on the final lap. So that moved him off the podium and actually pushed me up onto the podium. So those two drivers battled together, and then Jeff Scott was right there, as we said. Behind the front-running quartet, Tim Hannon coming home to cap off the podium. What a day for Tim Hannon, because we found that I didn't find this out till the very start of the main event. Literally gets there on Sunday morning, right, and was doing something with the generator, and it had a blow to the generator that lit him on fire. You heard about that, right?
Yeah, I did not know till yesterday.
Incredible,
about that.
Right? Literally lit everything on fire. He was burns on his arms, on his ankles. So kudos to the people that were around him that came quickly to help him out. So Tim, after that, bouncing back and jumping behind the wheel and coming home P5. Canadian Ronald Henry with the hard charger, I believe, up 11 spots from 29th to 18th. There was another driver, I think, that had a pretty good run forward as well. I'm not sure the Race Hero got it nailed perfectly.
Donald Harrington.
11.
Yeah, I think 11 positions as well.
He actually started further back than that, because he and I were talking about that. I think he figures he's the hard charger. But regardless, we got their names out there. Obviously this was my opportunity to try to see what I could do to get back on the podium like I did last year. Everything, like I said in my Facebook post, everything changed for me in qualifying when the driver in front of me mistook the white flag for the checkered flag. And as we're starting our flyer lap number 4, decides he'll go half power, puts his hand in the air through 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I got caught behind him. I was essentially done at that point. So instead of qualifying in the top 10, I was P1 in practice 3 with the draft. I ended up qualifying 18th. So that kind of set everything up for me. 18th to 14th to I think 9th in heat 2. I got 10th in heat 3. And then I started 11th, David, in the main event. Tried to give everybody room coming down into turn number 1 or turn number 2 after the start. And someone came across from right to left and just drilled me. And I ended up on the left side of the curbing in turn number 2 in the grass. So I don't know what happened. That they actually didn't have the camera on it. I went back to look on the video. I haven't seen anybody with.
Yeah, and somebody forgot to turn a GoPro on too.
Yeah, my GoPro didn't get turned on. Yeah, we won't throw Taryn Odom under the bus too much for that.
Who?
I don't know who you're talking about.
Taryn, what?
I could have did it myself too, right? I'm not.
Yeah, I mean, you're a rookie driver. You don't remember to turn that stuff on.
That's it.
Watching from the pit lane there. Yeah, you got some air.
Yeah.
I saw the top of your helmet basically.
Oh, there you go. Okay, well, that's good.
It was a pretty high shunt that you received. Luckily, you kept it straight instead of getting spun around and having the whole field kind of pile into you. So that was good. But yeah, it dropped you back. Kind of ruined your momentum because I don't think anybody else really got caught up in it. I know a couple people averted you or somebody else, but everybody kept going. And, like you said, Jeff Scott made up a couple of positions on it as well. But yeah, from there, you kind of just put your head down and went forward. And it was a pretty good drive. I don't know if you would have had the pace to be in the podium fight, but if you would have been there at the start, I think it certainly would have helped.
Yeah, I think I would have had a podium. I think I had it was good. The cart was really good. We made an axle change for Sunday morning that really settled the cart down, and it was a lot easier to drive for me, at least on Sunday. And I think I could have been in the fight once again, at least for 6th, 7th kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. I know I ended up 10th, but literally there was the one run where we got a huge run on the guy who had trouble coming through 3 and 4. And I wrote about this. So he gets a guy to come to the inside of him down to 5. He's kind of pinching him down a little bit. I get a full run and almost drive all the way by him before even the turn in to turn 5. Of course, he doesn't think he's there. He's looking at the guy beside him on the left. Just turns into me. His right front gets in front of my left rear. I'm up in the air. I end up coming down hard sideways into who I find out later on was Chuck Maitland, who I apologize profusely to, because I just I was a passenger at that point. I was in the air. I'm in the grass, full throttle. My brake foot, my left foot is caught behind the brake pedal. When I came back down, my foot gets caught behind the brake pedal. I'm across the grass over to the double right-handers. Thankfully, when I came over back on the track, it jarred my foot loose. I kept the throttle in it. I think I lost 1 or 2 spots, and I was back to work. So there was a lot of action. Let's put it that way for sure.
Yeah, we were there. You were in a lot of action all weekend long.
It was fun. Hey, listen, I finished 5th last year and 10th this year at a 40. I'm super, super happy. We came out of the gate a lot stronger than we did last year, David. Both you and I did that. You've had trouble in your races outside the top 20 in all your events. This one, you finally were able to show what you're able to do behind the wheel. That's why I'm so proud of what you were able to do. But in the end, we had a great time again, and already looking forward to coming back next year.
I don't know, man. I might retire on that performance. We'll see.
That's it. Hang it up.
Well, I did hashtag beat Rob Howden. So
you hashtag kicked Rob Howden's ass. So yeah. It was, you've got the belt on that one now.
I mean, it's going to be hard to wait 6 years to race you in Legends. So
when I'm 62 years old.
You got guys like Jim Fry finishing 2 spots behind you. He's a tad older than you. Shout out
to Jim Fry. Wow. Was he good? Was he impressive on the weekend? You're right. He was right there the whole time. Well done for him.
Yep.
Let's go to Junior to cap off this segment here. 77 entries. Former winners include Stefano Lucente, Elijah Skaggs, Alexander Searle, Logan Adams, Brent Cruz, James Overbeck, Eli Warren. Big names for sure. But David, let's talk about qualifying because a different chassis up front.
Yeah, Merlin Nation up front. Brady Chad was able to put down a quick time of 1:13.384 to lead the way ahead of the Brill Art of Isaac Malcutt, last year's Sportsman winner. Jackson Young in 3rd, Jordan DeLeo, the Canadian, in 4th, and Shane Smith rounding out the Fast 5. So with 77 entries, this group was broken up into the A, B, C, D heat format. Shad and Wakefield. Christopher Wakefield coming the only Sodi kart in the whole event, able to win the opening round of heat races. Isaac Malcutt and Cade Yeager in the second heat race as victors, and then Yeager and DeLeo picking up victories in the heat 3 round. That put Cade Yeager on the Coyote, I believe, correct? Yep. I would think he was under your tent, alongside Wakefield. For the front row of the main event, DeLeo and Chad in the second row, and then Isaac Malcutt starting from P5.
So here's where it gets interesting, David, because there was some aggressive racing on the weekend. Some not just aggressive racing, but drivers who make mistakes that collect other drivers. There was a couple of red flags in this one. One on lap number 3, which halted the action. They got going again. And then the final one came out essentially right as they were coming to the white flag. So this is where kind of things shook up in this particular category.
Yeah, it was setting up to be what was going to be a great 3-way battle. You had Isaac Malcutt in the lead ahead of Wakefield, who was kind of just sitting there buying his time. And then Jackson Wolney, who came up from 23rd to be sitting there in 3rd spot, right on the bumper of the top 2 drivers as they took the white flag. So the race cut short by, I believe, 2 laps because of the first opening red flag. So I'm trying to think now.
Or did they just revert back to lap number 13?
I think I think they were on lap 14. So maybe it was cut 1 lap. That's what I was trying to remember.
Okay.
So because the leaders took the white flag as they made their way, I think towards turn 5, that's when the red flag came out and they threw red and checkered, and essentially ending the race at that point. So we were expecting to see a great little battle between those 3 drivers. Unfortunately, It didn't happen. Then they reverted back to the last completed lap, which had Malcutt in the lead ahead of Wakefield and Wolney, Jordan DeLeo in the 4th spot, and Cade Yeager in the 5th spot. So unfortunately, the race ended in the red. I believe all drivers were able to get up and walk away from all the incidents. I think this was right before the Masters race, so kind of race mode, hard to focus on what was going on racetrack as well too.
100%.
But as far as I know, I think during all the red flags, I think everybody was able to walk away. So.
Yeah, Malcutt ends up coming home with the victory when they reset running for Steel Motorsports. He gets the win. Wakefield second, Wolney third, DeLeo and Yeager, as David said, capping off the top 5. Hard charger, Liam Plate, up 32 spots, 56 to 24th. But it would be worth mentioning, David, that Jackson Wolney up 20 to get into the battle for the race win.
Yeah, that's a great drive. I was talking. I asked him before, I think his main event. I was like, how's it going? And they just shook his head, just like it wasn't going good. But they obviously found some speed, took advantage of probably what was going on in the main event, and used his experience to put himself up front.
When we get back after this break, folks, we'll get capping off with the race report brought to you by Comet Kart Sales. We'll wrap things up with Sportsman, Cadet, and Kid Kart.
Are you ready to go from karts to cars? Since 1975, the Skip Barber Racing School has taken great drivers and made them champions. Today, we're proud to welcome the next generation of winners. Make the transition from karts to cars with the Skip Barber Formula Race Series. You'll compete at the most iconic tracks in America. Race weekends include your very own equalized Formula 4 race car, a professional crew, expert instruction, video and data analysis, hospitality, and more. This is the place to fulfill your dream of becoming a champion. Sign up today by calling 866-932-1949 or visit us at skipbarber.com.
Motor mounts. They keep your engine attached to your chassis, right? The answer is they're much more important than that. Your motor mount is critical in transferring 100% of the power from your engine through to your tires and the racetrack. You need this to get on the podium each and every time you race. Odenthal Racing Products is here for you, providing the best motor mounts on the karting market today, all designed to make sure you're using all the horsepower you pay for. Odenthal Racing Products is a family-owned and operated business with decades of karting experience in providing products with unmatched quality and value for our racing community. The Pro Series mount for 2-cycle engines, which is available in 0, 5, and 8-degree inclinations, provides a rigid structure to help keep vibration to a minimum without adding too much weight to your setup. The 4-cycle Easy Set system is one of the most popular mounts for the Briggs & Stratton 206 power plant. Multiple mounting holes provide the most adjustability depending on your chassis and seat placement. To ensure a tight fit to your chassis, our ORP wedge clamps get the job done, and they feature a number of design updates to provide a lower profile and lighter weight. The clamps are available from 28mm to 32mm in both standard and Euro style sizes. And now, Odenthal has also revolutionized the karting industry with its new Easy GP camera mounting system. Designed to mount anywhere on your chassis with 1 or 2 cameras, the ORP Easy GP camera mount is your solution to capture that onboard winning moment. Head to odenthalracing.com and find a dealer near you. Odenthal Racing Products, proudly made in the USA. ...2019 marked a new era for the Kartlift brand. The company that Tim Coyne owned and operated since 2003, one with a long tradition of quality products for the karting industry, was purchased by Ted Fashing and his business, Stockholm Karting Center, in October of 2019. Stockholm Karting Center Inc. has added the Kartlift brand to their very successful Triple T Race Products brand that has been fabricating parts for the drag racing industry for the past 25 years. We're small enough where the owner answers the phone, and every call is important to us, but we're large enough to get the job done. We pride ourselves on the quality and personal customer service that we provide on the phone or at the track. Kartlift stands, as you know, can be found at racetracks all over the country. If you race alone, or if you're a parent with a cadet or junior driver, let our one-man winch lift make your race days easier. Position the hooks under the rear bumper, push the button, and your cart is raised into position and you're ready to go. We have traditional cart stands, single upright storage stands, Kartlift stackers for storing 2 carts at once, tire changers, and skid plate kits. Kartlift stands are available at the finest kart shops around the country, or you can order online at kartlift.com. For more information, give us a call at 877-777-8020. That's 877-777-8020. Get a Kartlift and leave your crew at home. Welcome back to our EKN debrief of the big one, the Cup Karts North America Grand National 7 from Newcastle Motorsports Park. Almost 500 drivers taking qualifying entries. Comet Kart Sales Race Report rolling through here right now. We'll cap things off with 3 more categories: Sportsman, Cadet, and Kid Kart. Let's go Sportsman first. 34 entries on the weekend. Former winners include Arison Grimm, Caden Fretwell, Logan Adams, Ben Mayer, Keelan Harvick, and of course Isaac Malkiet last year, now a back-to-back winner. Dave Carter Barkas coming out of the gate with a fast time of 1:13.825 to get things underway.
It was him as the fast driver in qualifying, but sitting there second with in the time session was Holden Harder, AJ Stoner in third, Alex Hayes in fourth, Tyrone Kemper Jr. in fifth. But it was Harder that was the story through the heat races, as he was able to grab all 3 heat race wins for this category. That essentially put him on the pole position for the main event, putting Grady Cronick in the second spot. Barkas slipped to third for the starting grid of the main event with Stoner fourth and Lawton Mole in the fifth spot.
Did that be Leighton? Probably Leighton Mole.
Or Leighton Mole, sorry.
Leighton Mole. So let's talk about the race a little bit. Not surprising, a lot of early shuffling back and forth. Everybody kind of gaining their positions, but all you had to do was be on the sideline and hear Holden Harder. They talked about him throughout the entire race, David. He was up front, and did he get to the top? Did he get to the lead early and hold on?
Led the opening lap, but it was Barkas that took over the lead for a couple laps early on, and then Harder returned back to the point, and essentially it was just him leading the way the remainder of the race. Cronick moved up into the second spot, and they essentially ran 1-2. No moves or any kind of action for position, as they were just running very similar lap times, and nobody was able. Cronick was not able to make a move. That allowed Harder on the Nitro kart to score the victory by 0.3 of a second over Cronick in the Kart Republic.
Yeah, a couple of Nitros on the podium. Ezekiel Haight on there as well, P3. We talked about Tyrone Kemper Jr. on the Charles Leclerc. He ends up in fourth. And Carter Barkas, who qualified on the pole during that early timed run, held on, was there for P5 on the podium in the Parolin. Hard charger and sportsman Ethan Leroy up 18 spots, started 34th and went to 16th. New category for this year was Cadet. 28 drivers as they split the Cadet and Sportsman based on their ages. Connor Lipka, who had run at Newcastle Motorsports Park at the Race Rotax US Trophy Final in mid-September, came out of the gate quickly, David. 1:15.194 fast driver in qualifying. Aston Wyatt, Cooper Mull, RJ Brown, and Caden Williams capped off the Fast Five in that qualifying session. But Lipka was the man in the heat races, bagging a couple of them to qualify P2.
Yes, he was able to win the first and third heat races, while Aston Wyatt picked up the second heat race win. And then, based on the way the results sorted out during the 3 heat races, Wyatt earned the pole position for the main event, with Lipka on the outside of the front row. Daniel Dragunov in the third spot ahead of Caden Williams, and then RJ Brown starting from the 5th position. Excuse me. At the start of the main event, Lipka actually fell back to 7th on the opening lap, but was able to drive his way back up into second, with he and Wyatt able to break away by the time they got to lap 7. So it was essentially a 2-driver fight for the victory. And Lipka was just a little bit better than Wyatt towards the end, was able to take the lead and then edge his way to the checkered flag by 0.3 of a second over Wyatt to earn himself the inaugural victory in the Cadet division.
Yeah, it'll go down the record books. Dragunov, who qualified or was third after the heat races, finished third on the race. Dominic Gladys of the Nitro kart finishing in 4th. And David, in the end, Austin Taylor on the Kart Republic would get the 5th position, although it was actually Elisa Eddy who got P5 on the racetrack.
Yeah, penalty for contact dropped her down to P8, so that allowed Austin Taylor to move up to the podium on the 5th position.
Not a big hard charger in this one here. Miles Wilson started 20th, went up 5 spots into the 15th position. 28 drivers in total, as we said, in Cadet. And let's wrap up this race report brought to you by Comet Kart Sales with Kid Kart. They run a shorter track at the at Newcastle Motorsports Park for the Cup Karts North America Grand Nationals. 12 drivers in total. Former winners Brady Shad, Jacob Scheibel, Sawyer Chambers, Summer Rossiter, Camden Clay, and Parker Stewart. One of the regional champions, David, came out of the gate super strong, and that was Spencer Height. He's qualified to the pole with a 45.223.
Yeah, one of our champions profiles that we did for the divisional champions, Spencer Height, setting fast time in qualifying, going on to winning all 3 heat races. So kept him on the front row and the pole position for the main event alongside Blazy Hendry, along with Jackson Reinholtz, Grant Heckman, and the other Hendry. Sorry, I forgot to write the first name on that. Reed Hendry.
There you go.
So that was your
Reed.
Yep, that was your top 5 for the grid. It was Blaze that took the lead at the start of the main event, and that was the winning move as he led all 16 laps for the main event victory, stretching out to a 4-second advantage by the checkered flag.
Yeah, Spencer Height coming home in second spot, Reinholtz, Heckman, and Zeb Turner rounding out the Grant Heckman in fourth and Zeb Turner in fifth. As you said, Hendry leading wire to wire. Riggins Barnacle was the hard charger, started 12th and was able to get himself into the top 10, finishing in the 9th position. Folks, we're going to wrap things up here in this edition of the EKN Debrief, and we're back after this quick break. We'll wrap it all up. We'll look at the Constructors' Championship, and we'll also have a look as the EKN Trackside Live race calendar. It's a multi-time world champion, and it's a Super Karts USA Super Nationals winner. It is Sodi Kart. And starting in 2023, the Sodi brand has found a new home here in the U.S. Sodi Racing USA is the new exclusive importer of the Sodi Kart chassis line under the karting distribution banner, led by industry veteran Terry Germanovich. The French manufacturer Sodi Kart is a leader within the karting industry, offering a wide range of products and services. The Sodi Racing chassis line offers product in classes from Mini to KZ, all based on years of development and championship seasons around the world. Sodi Racing USA has already begun establishing its dealer network, working with the Karting Collective on the West Coast, and recently signing PK Sport to serve as a dealer and the official race team on the East Coast. Visit Sodi-Racing-USA.com to learn more about the Sodi Kart chassis line, or call 954-634-5111 to become part of the Sodi Racing USA network today. Sodi Kart, the world leader in the karting industry. It all started in my parents' garage. That's the foundation for MPG Motorsports, which grew from a small home garage in Indiana into one of the top race teams and kart shops in the industry. A true passion for motorsports runs deep in the DNA of MPG, which has developed strong connections within karting. Now based at the Whiteland Raceway Park in central Indiana, MPG Motorsports offers a wide range of opportunities through its race team while providing a full-service kart shop as an official dealer for the Kart Republic brand. The MPG Motorsports race team is led by ownership partner and karting champion Chase Jones and provides full trackside service and driver development. Be part of the MPG program at the USPKS, Stars Championship Series, and Route 66 Sprint Series events with arrive and drive opportunities available at those programs, as well as at the Whiteland Club races this season. A new 3,500 square foot shop is now open at the Whiteland Raceway Park in Whiteland, Indiana, and is the new home of MPG Motorsports. This new headquarters will provide local and regional racers with a full-service race shop that provides a wide range of parts and supplies to racers, including the full chassis line of the Kart Republic brand. For more, head to mpg-motorsports.com and follow us on social media. Let MPG Motorsports take your motorsports career in the direction of your choice. Made in the USA. It's not just a statement, it's the mission at Factory Karts of America. Led by 4-time Supernats champion Billy Musgrave, Factory Karts manufactures their frames completely in-house at the Riverside, California facility. Built and designed from the ground up specifically for the American karting market, Factory Karts brings new innovations and solutions that are long overdue. Factory Karts bring together the highest quality materials to produce a high-performance, long-lasting kart that has been designed and perfected from 3 years of development, with a focus for a big push across North America in 2023. No other karting manufacturer stands behind its product like Factory Karts does, providing a 2-year warranty on all their frames. Do you remember when American made meant innovative, original, stronger, faster, and just plain better? Well, American made is back. Contact Factory Karts today to join the American made movement. Learn more by visiting factorykarts.com or email Billy anytime at info@factorykarts.com. Welcome back to the EKN Debrief, episode number 119. Is myself, Rob Howard, and David Cole wrapping up our show as we report on the CKNA Grand National 7 from Newcastle Motorsports Park, which took place on the weekend that straddled the end of September and the start of October. David, let's jump into a bit of a wrap up here, because one of the interesting things was a lot of discussion we had. First and foremost, a lot of drivers, try to hold the outside. Somebody made a move to the inside. Everybody was trying to hold the outside. I know I tried it a couple times. I was on the inside a couple times. It's the nature of the corner speed and the moves that are made. A lot of discussion about racecraft.
Well, I think a good point to bring up is partly it's the racetrack and it's the tire. The tire has a lot of grip in it.
Yeah.
So you can, I think they were talking about how the senior light drivers are nearly flat out throughout the entire racetrack.
Wow.
And so when you're doing that, and the way the racetrack's laid out, there's not a lot of room for hard braking to get a pass done. I think, in our category, at least for me, there were 2 spots, maybe 3, that I knew, you had the crisscross or a braking zone that you were able to set up a better high percentage maneuver rather than just trying to throw it in on somebody.
Yeah, exactly that.
So I think that has a lot to do with it, because if we were at a smaller racetrack that had more braking zones and maybe on a harder tire, we'd have a different kind of viewpoint of this, and it would help maybe spread out the field a little more. But because of the way the conditions that we're in with the racetrack, the tires, the low horsepower of the engines, and how good everybody has, is competing, we get big, massive fields. So, and lead groups, and it's so tight and it's so difficult to pass. So I think that we just got to keep reminding ourselves of that,
Well, yeah, Dave, look, just you think about this racetrack, the layout we use for Newcastle, just think about up to scoreboard. So from the start of the field to scoreboard, majority of the field is probably lifting once or twice, right? You're probably lifting in 5 and you're lifting in green corner. That's about it to get to before you get to the scoreboard, right? Because It's just so, and it's all, like you said, it's more all about, getting better runs on guys, getting a run, like heading over to Cell Tower. If you're better than them through 5, 6, 7, you can make the move to the inside there. But again, they're going to be able to try to hang on the outside. So I think so many different levels, as you talked about, tire number 1 and layout number 2.
Yeah, and then of course you got to look at field size. Everybody's talking about how rough everything was and all of the red flags that occurred. Well, when we start putting 50 karts on a racetrack, the percentage of bigger incidents starts to go up. If you're only racing with 20 karts, you have more room, and there's not as many karts that are going to be coming through if a wreck were to happen at the front of the field.
Yeah.
Well, if you have a field of 50 and a wreck happens in the second row or third row, you have 40 other karts that have got to go through that area. And again, we're not racing on car tracks where you have 30, 40, 50, 60 feet to move. You have not even 10, not even 5 feet to move, or you have to go off racetrack, or some people aren't even looking ahead and just run into it for no reason.
Yep, that's true.
So that, again, that deals with the experience of the field as well too. So again, a lot of factors, to me, looking at it, I think the senior medium race was a little bit chaotic. I think that might've been the only one. I think for the majority of it, I think the rest of it's just racing.
I agree. I agree with you.
I think, my incident was racing. It's part of it, Other incidents that happen, the people are just spinning out. You have nowhere to go, and boom, you're hitting.
Yep.
and you're destroying your whole chassis. There's some drivers that didn't make smart moves. There's some drivers that were driving over their head. It happens. You're going to have that, and especially when you have a paddock of over 420 drivers, you're going to get that.
There's a wide spectrum of experience and skill.
Very wide.
This is Operation Grassroots. This is club racing. This is the pure level of the sport where some guys are getting in. They're just learning. Even if they've been for a couple of years, they can make minor mistakes here and there. But there's always going to be a spread in terms of pace, so it can happen. Now, again, people try to hold the outside because you roll into a corner, guys coming inside. If I roll the outside, I'll have the inside for the next line, right? And that happened quite a bit. There was also drivers talking a bit about adding a pushback bumper. David, what are your thoughts on pushback?
Yeah, again, I only think that helps with starts. I mean, to be honest, and looking at the majority of the starts we had, they were really good. I mean, obviously you're going to have the incidents like you were in where a driver, it's almost like it becomes 3 wide because a driver might drop a wheel. And so the two of you go to the inside of that driver. Well, that driver starts moving over, the middle driver moves over, and then boom, you're hit.
That's it.
I think for the
chain
majority,
reaction.
The chain reaction. Yeah. The majority of the starts, I'd probably say 90% of the starts that I saw were clean.
Agreed.
And we're in good. And that's the reason we have the pushback bumper. I know in our category, we had some of the really slow starts. And I think that helps because obviously the quicker you go in there, the harder it is to maintain your position, whether you be on the inside or the outside.
Yep.
So I think the slower the starts, the better. We got through turns 1, 2, and 3 really good. 4 could be a little iffy because then you start going, okay, I need to go. And then 5 is where kind of the chaos starts to ensue because you're trying to narrow down into the racing groove and not be side by side anymore. So overall, I think it works, and I think the pushback just adds to more chaos and more. It's just I don't think it's needed, especially with the kind of like shifter racing. We don't, I know they do it in Europe. FIA follows through with it, but you ask all the shifter drivers, they say we don't need it because guy drops a gear, boom, you're in the back bumper. Here, a guy drops a wheel, boom, you're into his back bumper.
Yeah, and it's very close racing, right?
Because you got to keep the momentum because this racing is all about momentum.
Agreed. That's exactly.
You got to carry that momentum in order to be quick.
Let's talk about track layout. They went back to the layout. I've actually driven this layout 3 times now. So you drove a different one. Were you in any discussions about potentially people asking for a track change?
Well, just based on what Greg said in our face-to-face that we had before the race weekend, he's looking at different track layouts. He's looking at maybe changing some things up. I'm just wondering what it would be. Because again, talking about the racing, the racetrack's pretty flat out. Do we make it longer? Throw in the I-70, actually make in a braking zone, braking zone.
It would also change the gear a little bit. That's one thing people said. Hey, listen, if we go all the way down to I-70, all of a sudden do you run a taller gear? To get the top speed you need to lose some of the infield. It would be interesting to see how because that would change probably the precision you have to be in the tighter stuff to be able to stay strong, be able to still be fast. Right?
Do we run it backwards to make it exciting last 3 corners instead of drag racing to the line, or just moving the start finish line to the original one? So you still have to go through what is now turn 1 would be the last corner.
Yeah.
So who knows? I think hopefully Greg will have the time because as he said in our face to face that he wants to drive it before he makes the decision. So we'll see. Hopefully he'll get some time. They got a couple test drivers that are talking right now that could help out with that if needed. But I'd love to see something change up. As much as I like the layout that we run, I'd like to see again keep changing, whether it be every year or every other year.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. So Dave, what's to come in 2024 for CKNA and the Grand Nationals 8? Again, it's obviously a great opportunity for them to kind of launch things out, but I don't think they were quite ready to make it all the announcements they wanted. There was a lot going on as it was on the weekend as it is. CKN itself, I don't know that we're going to have any major, major moves. Greg kind of told us that, we've got 4 divisions, South, North, Northeast, and Canada. Solidify that, keep growing what they have, lock down the core components of the program, and then we'll see what happens for Grand Nationals 8.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of for Grand Nationals 8 is track layout. Maybe I think the format for this year went well. You got 4 rounds of practice on Thursday. You got your qualifying first heat race in on Friday, 2 heat races on Saturday, and the main events and the LCQs on Sunday. I think the format worked out great. I think that was one of his big worries.
It was great.
I think it gave people time to relax, enjoy themselves, watch some racing, buy some apparel, enjoy, like you said, grilling out, having a good time. Again, I think that worked out well. So I think, kind of just track layout might be the only change they have for Grand Nationals 8, maybe.
Don't disagree with you. Yep. Let's look at the Constructors Championship, Dave. 5 different brands winning the 9 main events.
Yeah, Coyote leading the way with 4 victories. As you said, swept all 3 senior categories and then picked up the Legends win. Burrell Art picking up 2 with Masters and Junior. Nitro Kart, Comp Kart, and MGM all with a victory on the weekend.
All right, let's cap this edition of the EKN Debrief off with our regular capper. That is the EKN Trackside Live race calendar presented today by DID Chain. Powered by technology, DID racing chains have a worldwide reputation for superior quality and reliability. A rich racing tradition where race results speak for themselves, DID prides itself on engineering the most technologically advanced chains on the market to help you excel on and off the track. DID's SDH pin treatment creates an extremely hard chromium carbide layer on the pin surface that houses a soft inner core to absorb extreme shock loads. DID's 219 HTZ racing kart chain boasts this SDH pin technology, which leads to a longer chain life as well as excellent energy transmission to the wheels. Available in the gorgeous gold, the 219 HTZ is the ultimate racing kart chain. Pick up a DID chain at your local dealer today because when winning is the only thing that matters, go with DID. All right, David, just a couple of races here left on the docket. One actually this coming weekend. In fact, you're going to be rolling back in the air on Thursday, tomorrow, October 5th to the 8th. They're going to cap things off with the United States Pro Kart Series, the Carolina Grand Prix, back at Trackhouse Motorplex in Mooresville, North Carolina. You went from an absolute fantastic battle in 206 racing for Briggs. Now it's time to rock things up USPKS style.
Yeah, USPKS wrapping up its 11th season, 11th time that they've been to the Trackhouse Motorplex, the place where the United States Pro Kart Series launched back in 2013. So excited to get back there to Race City, USA, Mooresville, North Carolina. A number of the championships wrapped up already. I just now starting to get my Excel sheet working and running because of the way MyLaps does their points. It's a little bit crazy right now, so it's not as easy as it used to be. So working on that, and we'll do our outlap either today or tomorrow,
yep.
and get that up and running, and then get a preview going tomorrow as well too. And excited to wrap up the 2023 championship program.
Then we cap it all off, folks. Our final EKN Trackside event of the 2023 season, the 26th running of the SuperKarts USA Super Nationals this year out at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. The date, October 8th to the 12th, moving forward into earlier in November due to Formula One invading downtown Las Vegas, making things obviously very tough for anybody trying to put an event on during the late part of the month. So yeah, November 8th to the 12th will be trackside. Looking forward to full coverage of this year's Super National. Should be a barn burner for sure. David, 2 more events to lock down 2023. I may head down to the PRI show later just for a little EKN run there. But otherwise, just 2 more racing events to cap off at least our Trackside Live program.
Yeah, it's been a busy 2023 season. Hard to believe it's already coming to a near close. Yeah. Again, we got October and November, and then December will be focusing on 2024. But yeah, the Super Nationals 26 back at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Going to get great views and sights of the Air Force Base nearby, and
the air show,
and a free air show, which will be awesome. excited to learn more about this year's event. Obviously, Superkarts USA has been working hard to make that a memorable event.
Looking forward to it, folks, as we did coming into the Cup Karts North America Grand National 7. It was a tremendous weekend. David Cole and I both getting a chance to do double duty. He comes out on top of our battle. So shout out to David for a really tremendous performance throughout the entire week at Newcastle. And to all the race winners as well. And, of course, to Cup Karts North America. That staff put down a tremendous display of both customer service and event promotion. Kudos to Greg Jasperson and Steve Vermeer for a record-setting CKNA Grand Nationals. I'm sure they'll be looking at another level in 2024. Stay tuned to ekartingnews.com. We'll make sure that we can stay connected with the powers that be to let you know on schedules for their North, South, Northeast, and Canadian series. And, of course, the date of the 2024 Grand National event. Thank you so much for tuning in, folks. We appreciate it. David, you got one more thing to add?
Say maybe we need to do Canadian racing, CKNA Canada racing.
Listen, I'm waiting for Gerald Casey to drop that down. I was going to go to Goodwood this past year, but didn't. So I'd love for us to be able to battle it out somewhere. That'd be fun to come up to Canada and race.
Yeah. I can't say I've ever raced outside the country of the United States. So yeah, Canada add there. It'll be exciting to see what they come up with. And it was congratulations to all the racers. Again, it was a phenomenal weekend. I think everybody had fun on and off the racetrack. And
I know for me, obviously, shout out to John Seglin, Brandon Jarsikrak over there, and for you and Jeffrey and Marshall Martin at LSR. Great to have an opportunity to spend some time with great people as well. And
Camp Chaos, baby.
Pardon me?
Camp Chaos, baby.
Camp Chaos. Again, shout out to everybody that had such a great time. Thank you so much for tuning in, folks. Big props as well to Acceleration Kart Race, the presenting sponsor of this edition of the broadcast. Thank you so much, folks, for tuning in. We appreciate it. More to come, as David said. We may be turning around and knocking out the Outlap podcast like right now for this weekend's USPKS race. So lots of work to be done here in the EKN Radio Network. Again, on behalf of David Cole, my name's Rob Howden. Bye for now.